guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we are going to do a full face of makeup using one side expensive and one side full of dupes. This is the end result. Let's just ignore the eyeliner. I don't know what I was thinking. This eyeliner went down, this one went up, but aside from that, I feel like the effects are really similar. If I didn't tell you which side was cheap, well, dupes versus high-end, I think it is so easy to mistake it because they look so similar. And I hope we get to save some money together after this video and you guys try out some of these dupes yourself, because personally, looking at my makeup, it looks like they're the same thing. But let's just get into the video. Here we are with our fresh, no makeup face, and we're just going to get right into it. First, we have the primers. Now, these two aren't necessarily dupes as in like formula, but I do find that the finish and the effects of it are very similar. And also, they both are those type of creams where it could be a moisturizer or a primer. So it's like a hybrid product, and that's why I'm comparing these two. So on this side of my face, I'm going to do the more expensive side. This is going to be the dupes. So the first one we're going to do is the Perez Moringa All Beauty Cream, and I already used this in the past on camera. I've used both of these on camera before, but this is a very light oatmeal colored cream, and it is meant to be a primer moisturizer all in one. I really enjoy this one. Gives your face a really dewy finish, and I'm just gonna put it all over on this side with my hands. We can see this side is much more dewy in comparison to this side, which does not have any cream. But on this side is another really popular product that is no strangers to internet. This is the Embroylise milk cream, and this is again meant to be a primer moisturizer all in one. Right off the bat, it's a little bit different just because the cream is actually a more, I guess, traditional face cream color. It's completely white. It almost has a toothpaste applicator with this kind of metallic kind of finish, and yeah, it just works just like a moisturizer. And I'm going to apply on this side of my face again with my hands. They both have a very thin texture, which I really enjoy, and is very luminous. There we are. Now this side of my face is also primed. We're going to let it sit for a while just so it soaks in and make sure our next step doesn't peel, because one thing I do find is that you do need time between primer application and foundation application, otherwise everything can just mush together and not look good. Let's quickly talk about what foundation I have picked. So I have chosen two cushion foundations that I feel like are really similar in their finish, wear time and everything, except for at very different price points. On the higher end side, I have the Laneige Neo Powder Cushion, which is a very popular product in Korea because not only is the cushion so unique, you have these slits to hold in more product, but it also gives your skin a very beautiful skin-like finish whilst being powdery and matte. And the most important thing is it's long wearing and even transfer proof on masks, etc. And it's just a very all-rounder product. It is a medium high coverage foundation and is meant to suit a wide variety of skin types as well. So that's something I really enjoy about it. And the Missha one has very similar claims, except for I do find this to be high coverage, and it does have also SPF 50. I'm not sure if this one has any SPF factors, probably have some, but not 50, I'm pretty sure. And this also gives your skin a very velvet skin-like finish whilst giving it a better coverage. Oh, I just realized I have a little pimple popping up here. That was not here when I woke up this morning, but we'll deal with that. But the thing is, I do like both of them very much, and I do think that their formulas are very similar. Both of them, I have them in the shade 23, which is typically the darkest shade in K-Beauty foundation, which is a little bit concerning because I'm actually quite pale. But let's quickly put this on our face, and what we're going to do is the very classic method. I like to just soak my sponge, my applicator, into the cushion. We get the product, and then on the lid, really just stamp it out and smudge it so we get the product evenly dispersed, and whatever is remaining gets on the lid. That way you get a much more cleaner application. We're going to stamp it on our face and just slowly from the center pat towards the outside. Can we see it's hiding even my redness here quite well? The coverage is not bad at all, and instantly my face feels more mattified, but the dewiness is still glowing through from the primer. There we are with just one puff and one stamp. It is enough for half my face, and we can see my skin already looks more even out, but it has a really nice coverage as well. Just here, I want to cover that up a little bit more, so I'm going to take whatever's left on the lid, scrape that through, and just press it here. I think this is perfect for anyone who has oily combination skin. If you have dry skin, probably need to prep your skin a little bit more with more hydrating primers, but overall this one is absolutely incredible. Now on my dupe side, I'm going to apply the missha, which is also really incredible. This one's more like a traditional cushion. Your puff is just a normal sponge. Inside you also have the cushion, and this is a more softer puff as well. That one's a little bit harder, but I do enjoy both of them. And you'll see that the coverage is very similar. Press them on the lid and stamp all over the face. You always want to make sure you get up to the forehead as well. In the past, I used to not do my forehead a lot, and that's because I thought my forehead was darker anyway, so it can save me the bronzer. But actually, it's important to even out everything, otherwise it just looks like a huge mess, and we do not want that. There we are. We can see that this side is also a very skin-like finish. This one's a little bit more mattifying, I would say, but overall very similar. The shade is almost identical as well. Again, if I want some extra coverage, I'll take some from the lid and just stamp it on. We can see around my nose, both foundations just get right into a crevice. It doesn't really crack or dry or anything or separate. It's just really incredible. Next, we are going to use concealer, and this is a very famous dupe. We have the NARS Natural Radiant Creamy Concealer and the Maybelline Fit Me. Both are so similar, not only in formula but packaging as well. They're very high coverage and gives a skin-like finish, and they last all day as well, and they always just melt into whatever base product you already put earlier, so it's really easy to use. And yeah, let's just get into it. Both I've used a ton of, and I'm hoping to finish by the end of this year. I do want to mention, because the NARS concealer, I took the stopper out and I've had it for a while now, the formula is not as wonderful as when I first bought it. It's less creamy, it's a little bit thicker and goopier now, but it still has the same finish. But just want to keep that in mind in case you thought it looked a little bit different from what you see from other videos or when you swatch it. It's just because mine's a little bit old. There we are. Not too much actually, just a little bit goes a long way, and I'm going to use my Perez biodegradable sponge to blend things out. There we are. The face is nice and concealed. I think it's because the sunlight, it looks like I still have quite a bit of dark circles, but in reality it's covered up quite a bit. But now let's go in on the Maybelline side. This is the shade Fair, and this one was Creme Brulee. So yeah, this one is still fresher, so it has that more watery texture, and just overall looks a little bit, I guess, smoother and easier to apply. But yeah, the NARS one, it's kind of my fault. As soon as you take the stopper out, there's more air going into it, so the chance of it drying up is also higher. Before I like to set my face with powder, I love to go in with some setting spray, and for this I have chosen the Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Flawless Setting Spray and the Too Cool for School Finish Setting Fixer. So the reason I chose these two, not only is it because these two logos look very similar to a point where I'm kind of like, are you sure that's not intentional? But also the effects of it are very similar. They have a very fine mist that are very reminiscent of each other, and my makeup do last longer. I do find that most of my setting sprays are very similar in terms of finish, but these two I just thought were the most similar in my collection. And let's just quickly hydrate my face. This one you do have two caps, so make sure to do that. Whilst we wait for that to settle, let's introduce the setting powder we are going to use. The first one I'm going to use is, on the luxury side, the NARS Translucent Light Reflecting Powder. I really like this one for setting my face and giving it still some luminosity. And we can see it has some slight shimmers in here that does not show up at all, but it makes the face look creamier. And another product, again from Too Cool for School, is the Artclass by Rodin Definition Powder. It's this very similar kind of white powder again, but it also has some specks of almost, I wouldn't say glitter, shimmer to it that also gives the skin a beautiful luminosity. And this one's more harder to the feel, that one's more softer, I would say, but they both have that like dry texture to them. I'll swatch it and you guys can hear it. I hope you guys could hear that, but this is what the two looks like. This is the Too Cool for School. This is the NARS. We can see the NARS looks more translucent and almost airy. This one has more of like a finishing powder, translucent white cast to it, but when you apply both onto the skin, you can see they are transparent and they give your skin a beautiful luminosity to it and sets the skin really nicely. To set them, I am going to use a powder puff. I haven't used this in a while, but I am feeling it today. What I'm going to do is take one side of powder puff and just dig into my NARS. I really like to just swipe it across and get the powder like so. And because that is quite a bit, I like to pat some on my hand and again get the excess off. My hand is now very mattified, and with the remaining, now that's thinner, just press it into my skin. I do find a powder puff to be really convenient as well because you cover such a large area all at once. There we are. Can we see how the skin is set, but it's still luminous? I'm gonna switch it to the other side and we're going to go in with the Too Cool for School powder. Again, give it a nice smudge, give it a nice, you know, mixing around, and we have the powder. Pat some onto our hands. You can see this one leaves more of a white cast to it, which is why I have to do the evening out step. Now it's coated, we're just going to do the exact same thing. It's absolutely incredible. These two are just such amazing dupes, and I'm so happy I found this one out. I feel like no one talked about this, so, you know, I want to get some credit here. But I just really enjoy the finish. You do get that subtle shimmer if you look very closely. Overall, you really can't see it, and my skin still looks like my skin. It's a very thin layer and everything just adheres to the skin very well. So that is it for my setting powder. Now for blush, I have an amazing dupe for you guys. The shades are a little bit different, but the formula I feel like are almost identical, and the price points are very drastic, even though the more affordable side is not as affordable as in comparison to the other products I've used today. But I want to show you guys my dupe between the Chantecaille powder blush and the 3CE powder blush. I do find these extremely similar. I have the shade Bliss from Chantecaille, and this is a beautiful nude kind of peachy everyday shade, and here from 3CE I have nude peach. They look kind of similar. They're both kind of warm neutral. This one's a little bit more pinker, this one's more, I guess, beigey. But overall, they are some of the best powder blushes I have ever used, and I absolutely adore it. The Chantecaille one is just too expensive. I think that this is a tiny amount. I haven't used it like crazy, and already I made a considerable dent in it. But they are just so soft and they just blend incredibly well. They last all day and there is probably nothing wrong with them. I just absolutely adore these blushes. I think out of the two formulas, the most different thing about them is the Chantecaille one does have quite a bit of kickback in the pan, and the 3CE one has less. But overall, let's just do a comparison of the swatches. Look at that. The shades are quite similar, but the way the powder just blurs and just works on your face, cheeks, and skin is absolutely mind-blowing. They are just so incredibly soft. This is the Chantecaille one, it's a little bit lighter. This is the 3CE one, it's a little bit more pigmented, but both have this really soft powder silky texture to it, and I absolutely adore them. They do have great color payoff and you can build up the coverage, but most importantly they do last all day and it doesn't clog your pores. So now I'm going to apply the Chantecaille blush. I do want to show you guys how bad the kickback is. Are we seeing that? Like, the kickback is pretty bad. It's a really powdery formula, but it just works really well and it makes your skin feel really good. Every time I do that, I feel like I'm wasting money, but here is the blush coated on my Wayne Goss 13 face brush, and I'm going to just apply it very gently all over the cheeks. There we are. That is my face blushed up on this side, very subtle, and that's the way I like my blush to be. I'm going to quickly clean this brush here on my dry brush cleaner and apply my 3CE blush in Nude Peach. This is also a beautiful one, but we can see instantly the kickback in the pan is not as severe, and this one's a lot more pigmented, so I need to be very careful with this one. That is so pretty. I really enjoy these two blushes. I do think the 3CE one is my preferred one out of the two, just because the price point is so good. You get a lot more product and it is a little bit more pigmented, so I do prefer this one actually over my high-end one, but this one's a great splurge as well. It's a very cute little pebble, but this one, more bang for your buck. Next, for highlighter, I did find that I had a hard time finding a dupe, but these two are very similar in finishes. This is the MAC Extra Skin Dimension and this is the Clio Prism highlighter. Now the formulas are a bit different because the MAC one is a baked powder situation. It is this beautiful golden champagne, whereas the Prism one from Clio also has this beautiful champagne shade, but it's more like a putty finish and a lot softer. But I do find both of them give a beautiful glow to your face, and oh, that is just stunning. And I do really enjoy the fact that the Clio one, you have two formulas. One is slightly more glittery and one is more pigmented. So let's swatch that one as well. Look at that. That is a beautiful shine. So I do think this one is very similar to the MAC one in the finish, except for this one's a lot creamier to the touch. This one's more powdery, but the effect on your face is exactly the same. So I don't see too much of an issue there. I cannot stop looking at my hands. They are absolutely amazing. This is the shade Cream Fizz, and I'm using this one on the left-hand side, this one. But I do like to mix both of them together. I find that really beautiful. And this is the MAC Fleur Shore. This is, I think it's a limited edition one, so I'm not sure if it's still even in use, but I do want to say these two formulas have very similar finishes, so you can probably dupe it for anything you like in their collection. Taking a paddle brush for my MAC one, just a tiny smidge is enough because this is incredible and just so blingy. Look at that, that is so pretty. And on the other side of my brush, we're going to go in with the Clio Prism. This side is definitely more wow and in your face, a little bit more intense. This one's a little bit more subtle, which is the way I like to apply it, but both can be built up to something shiny. See, this is already like insanely pigmented. I do love both. I'm gonna put a little bit more on my nose. So for my eyeshadow, I found two dupes, and I will try to put both on my face, but one of them is more like a color scheme dupe. The other one is more of a actual formula and color scheme. But let's talk about the one that is reminiscent of each other first. I am trying to get them open, but they are, first of all, Tom Ford's Disco Dust and Roman's Dry Mango Tulip. I think that's what it is, 01. They are so similar to each other in color story and just the way they perform on the eyes, because you have, you know, like kind of 3 mattes and 1 shimmer, that kind of formula and I guess algorithm to both. They have very similar kind of energy and just feel to them. I will include some swatches so you can see what I mean. They do look a little bit different on camera, but you have a darker shade and then a lighter one, all that jazz. Very, very similar. And I do want to give a shout out to both of their glitters. They are extremely similar to each other. If you guys watched my ranking on my Tom Ford formulas, you will know that the glitter in Disco Dust is one of my favorites, but let's do a little bit of a swatch. So this is the Disco Dust one, and this is the Roman one. They are quite similar to each other in my opinion. The Roman one has more of a pink base to it. The Tom Ford has more of a champagne beige, but both are extremely glittery and just reflective, fine particles, and last all day. They are beautiful, but obviously at drastically different price points. So that one is incredible. Another one that I think is a really great dupe for each other is actually, again, another Tom Ford palette. This is Honeymoon. Oh, this is my favorite palette from Tom Ford ever. I just really enjoy using it. It's my favorite formula as well. I really enjoy the warm tones and the baked formula. The dupe I have found is from Canmake, a Japanese brand. It's the Silky Souffle Eyes, and this is the shade 10. I do find, again, they have very, very similar color story and they have a very similar DNA to them, and the formula is very similar to each other. They're both kind of like glittery baked kind of formulation, and they just blend beautifully on the eyes. So I do enjoy that a lot, and today I'm going to complete a look with both of these palettes. Starting off with our more expensive high-end side, I'm going to go in with my matte formula from Disco Dust and just use it as an overall setting shade. We're going to go in with the exact same kind of dupe on the Roman palette. This is another peachy beige, beautiful setting shade. This is a true matte, whereas the one in the Tom Ford palette is a matte with shimmer. There we are. Nothing really different so far. I mean, it's a base shade. But now let's make it a little bit more interesting. We're going to go in with the baked eyeshadow formula now, and I'm going to use this kind of bronzy shade all over the lids. Following on the canmake side, I'm going to do a mixture of these two eyeshadows together to get that same shade. Instantly we can see it has the same kind of really pigmented finish, and you can just keep on blend and it will look fabulous. Now this side is a little bit more on the pinkier side, I will have to admit. This one's more bronzy, but overall the formulation is incredibly similar. Both are looking absolutely incredible, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take the kind of red shade and smoke out my eyes. And we're going to do the exact same thing on the canmake side. We're going to take a mixture of these two shades. I do want to say the canmake side is actually a little bit more pigmented than the Tom Ford, so that's something to keep in mind as well. Now to kind of top things off, we're going to use the top champagne shade on the Tom Ford palette and just highlight the inner corners. Canmake, we're going to use the top champagne shade and again highlight the inner corners. Both look incredibly similar, but we're going to top it off by using the darkest purple and using that as an eyeliner shade. There we are. How beautiful is this as an eyeliner? And we're going to do the exact same thing on the other side. Take the darkest shade and use it as an eyeliner. Oh, the eyeliners look a little bit different. That one's more flat. This one's more like going up. Oh god, what did I do? Anyway, we get the point. This also acts as a beautiful eyeliner shade. It has that tint of red brown to it, whereas this one I guess is more of a darker shade, but overall we can see the finishes look exactly the same almost. And just to be a little bit extra, let's pop a little bit of the Tom Ford glitter on each of the eyes. It was beautiful already, but now it is just so extra. I love it. And we are going to use a little bit of the Roman glitter as well. Both are gorgeous, am I right? I absolutely adore it. I'm going to do my brows and mascara off camera just because I don't have any dupes for them, but we'll be back for my lips. Back with the eyebrows and eyelashes. I want to share with you guys just out of the direct sunlight how similar I look on both sides. Like literally, they look identical, but that is what everything looks like. The sun is setting, so we just need to hurry up with this. On the high-end side, we have the Rare Beauty lip oil, and then on the other side, we have the Roman lip tints. I know a lot of people have compared the Roman lip tint, Juicy Lasting Tint, to the Rare Beauty, but I feel like a better dupe is actually Dewyful tint. I'll show you guys why. So here we have the Rare Beauty lip tint, which is beautiful, but it's very watery, as you can see. When it dries down, it still has a very glossy and dewy finish, whereas I feel like the Juicy Lasting Tint, it's beautiful and watery at first, but not only does it dry down a little bit more matte and almost like a stain, it's something that is drier, whereas the Rare Beauty I feel like maintains its wet glow, which is what the Dewyful Lasting Tint does. Can we see? Now this one will stay wet, which is exactly what the Rare Beauty lip oil does. So I think this is actually a better dupe. So let me know down below if you agree with me. Do you think they're better dupes? Because I personally think that they are. They just are more like similar in their formula. Now the colors aren't exactly dupes for each other. This is the shade Serenity from Rare Beauty. This is Papaya Jam, Juicy Lasting Tint from Roman, and this is Chili Up. But I do want to compare the formula, not exactly the colors. I also do want to mention that the Rare Beauty also has a bit of like a minty taste to it. It doesn't plump your lips at all. It just has a minty texture, which I'm like, not really loving it, but hey, it is there. There we are, not too bad. I think they're similar enough. But yeah, that concludes my full face of dupes. Let's do a quick roundup. Well, here it is, the end result, the full face of dupe makeup. I hope you guys enjoyed it because I'm honestly just looking on my phone camera right now. I'm so impressed with how many dupes I found, and I think they are so similar and you can save so many money just by so much money just by finding alternatives. And it's not like the alternatives are bad, they're great. That's why I have them in my collection in the first place. It's just that they happen to be very similar to high-end brands and products, so you can save a lot of money. You don't need both in your collection. Well guys, that concludes today's video. I hope you enjoyed it and found some dupes yourself, because I'm just so happy to share some of these with you guys. It's always my goal in life to just share my favorite makeup, and hey, if it helps us spend less money, why not? Am I right? And as you can see, a lot of these dupes are from a more Asian makeup market, which I think is actually a sign that a lot of brands are shifting towards the more subtle Asian makeup trends. Like, for example, Rare Beauty is a great example. I think Rare Beauty is definitely shifting towards the Asian market a lot more with their melting blush, their lip oils. Everything's just more natural and dewy, as opposed to like in the past few years, our trends of matte finishes, really high coverage, heavy, you know, like all those. But aside from that, let me know down below if you've had tried any of these products and if you agree with my dupes, or if you want to try out any of these yourself, because I want to hear feedback. Is it just me that thinks these are dupes, or are they genuine dupes for every single person? But aside from that, that is it for today's video. If you did like it, please give it a thumbs up or even subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you guys for the next one.